Hey, Shannon. There goes your hand
Yes,
again.
I'm ready.
Yes.
I just turned my volume up.
Okay. Um, how's your day?
My day was pretty good. It started out pretty awesome. Big fan of the mindfulness hike slash meeting slash work.
Yeah, I digged it. Minus the snake.
Yeah,
Almost had an
like
accident. It's fine. We walked it off.
yeah, and Matt and I still fought a little while ago about whether it was a copperhead or a cotton.
According to Wikipedia, the Hershey body. It that
That's
wasn't
what.
it wasn't scary until I started reading a little bit more about it. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, 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 cool. Now I even told my husband, hey, listen, if you ever get bit by a snake that looks like this, go to this hospital in this location because they have
Yep,
this specialty. And he was like, that was random. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of our conversation with Shannon. You don't know what you're gonna learn that day.
that is so valid. I am a plethora of useless information.
It's not useless.
Like I mean, useful, but at the most random times. You never know. You're just gonna get a text like, I want to go to Burning Man one day. Here's what snakes look like, or this particular snake, or I mean, you never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, I do not, and I appreciate it because now I know. Now, thank you. Now I know useless but useful information. Anything else? Anything special happened today?
Nope. I think my day fit our topic though. Our
Did it?
topic for today, I think it did. I think it molds well. What was the exact name of today? I don't want to say it
Well,
wrong.
we could always change it, but as of right now, it could be other duties as assigned.
Yeah, because that's kind of how I feel my day went. Because I didn't do any instructional design work today, but I was sure busy. How about you?
You know what? Yeah, I'm right there with you. Hey guys, also if you don't know what you're tuning into, this is Oops, I am an ID with Sandra and Shannon. So thank you guys for
Hi.
joining us today. We have a very unplanned, planned conversation today, but I think those are the best kind, right?
They
Um,
are. We do better when we wing it.
that's the best type of conversation.
Mhm.
Um, well, I did do some instructional design, kind of question mark.
Mhm.
Um, after we got home from our mindfulness. What is that? What it's called? Mindfulness walk.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was called. I loved it. It was a very different take on let's chat about work and how we can resolve situations instead of sitting in front of a computer
Mhm.
and taking note. Like for some reason, my attention span is like zero. Um, I was able to retain some of that. And I feel like I
Awesome.
had my brain working while we were talking, walking, and not trying to die.
Yeah.
Getting chased by a gator. Um, but that was nice. And after I came back home, caught up on my emails and the things that I needed to do, look at my to-do list. It was a different vibe. Like I felt like it was full of opportunity. It wasn't like the same cookie cutter day. Although I will say
Mhm.
this, as an instructional designer, it's not always, for the most part, it's not a cookie cutter day.
No.
You just don't know what you're going to run into. And today was kind of one of those days. But I think today I kind of tackled something that I've been avoiding it. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I've been avoiding it and I was able to resolve it, which had to do, with our learning management system and a client. So, yay. But it's probably going to come back again. I felt like this project has ended, 4 times ago and here we are. It just keeps
Yeah.
appearing. I'm the problem.
I
It's
know exactly which one you're talking about because I see the emails and I'm like,
nope.
that's Sandra. That's Sandra.
It's totally me. I own it.
Yep.
So, got that done and I was working on something else, a request that has nothing to do with instructional design, but it's with our learning management system, and it's getting images for each bucket, each category,
Mhm.
which
Mhm.
is not necessarily instructional design. I want to say maybe it's not marketing, but it is graphic work, you know,
Right.
that falls under the other duties as assigned, you
It
know?
does. And in all of my years with instructional design, learning management system knowledge always creeps in and is always there. I think that is definitely one of those other duties as assigned is you better know how to use an LMS and be proficient in there for sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Not everybody knows how to, use it. Even in our organization that we work for, we see a lot of that there's a disconnect between instructional designers and really understanding the LMS. And it's complicated because there's not a lot of one-on-one courses that you can take for this, or a lot of one-on-one time because of limited staff. And then for us, or across our organization, we have how many? Do you know at the top of your head how many or instructional designers or alike?
How many instructional designers or alike? I'd like to say that most of the people who function in the developer like admin role with the LMS or they're building some type of e-learning. I'd say, maybe 80, maybe
Okay.
70, something like that. People around that are at least doing something within that area, I
Right.
guess.
Yeah, and then having those one-on-one conversations can be really hard.
Mhm.
But
Yep.
we do have workshops, so hopefully that's helping them.
Yeah.
I know you host one that's the LMS, strictly learning management system, and hopefully you're able to. I mean, I've heard nothing but good things, so you must be doing something right. You must be working
I
over there.
I love the techie stuff. I've always gravitated towards LMS the whole time I've been in the instructional design realm. I like making e-learning work. I like a challenge, which is why I ended up in Excel all day as an instructional designer. But I will say the
Question.
one piece that was instructional design is I figured out how to give a button a hover state in Excel.
Nice.
So my buttons have hovers and they link to other tabs in the same workbook. So kinda tied it in, although I think it was originally tasked to me because I can write Excel formulas and pull data together, which really is
Um,
not an instructional design function, but I do like doing that stuff. So
I
just
might
another
say you're pretty dang good at it. So now I will say
another one
this:
of
I've
those.
never thought about putting a hover feature on Excel.
Well, what
That's
made me
awesome.
think about it is that one dashboard I built had that slicer, and I built a hover state in the slicer. And I'm like, there has to be a way because I wanted the slicer function without the slicer. So, you know where I went? Because where do we go when we want to learn new things? I feel like
Google
we need a
University.
sound for this. We need like a drum roll. We're gonna
Don't you
go.
start. I will get us a mixer.
Yeah, we need like for the podcast when we're gonna mention this, like we need a sound moving forward. Noted. We'll
Got it.
we'll we'll get on that. But you go to Google. I went to Google because I knew somebody on the interwebs was gonna tell me how to make a hover state in Excel. And you know what? They absolutely did. YouTube University came through in clutch,
Yep.
and I am on my way.
All right. Now I can't wait for you to explain that and how that.
I'm not explaining it to anybody. I've no
You
idea how I did it. I don't remember.
Yeah. I should record myself for 10 days that I worked on this. Will it work? Will it not work? I remember sitting next to you and you're like, look, it
I'm over
worked.
here
And I'm
hoping
like,
I can
no, it doesn't,
remember
Shannon.
how I did this stuff last week.
I don't know. It'd be like that sometimes.
Yep,
So I have my little list of
it
things
sure
that are
does. It absolutely.
considered um other duties as assigned. One of them,
Okay, Let's hear
is
it. Let's hear it.
creating content. Wait, pause. Can we pause? In our walk today,
Mhm.
we had a conversation about user end experience, instructional
Oh,
designers,
we
and
did. Yes,
and
because
when we were talking about that, it made me think like that's what we actually are already.
I agree. I agree. And companies are getting hip to that because they want IDs to come in and do all the other duties as assigned. So I'm seeing a lot of things on the LinkedIn where people are asking for learning experience specialist, learning, and they have different titles for it, but it's all learning experience.
Right.
Because that's a big
What is it?
umbrella.
UX, user experience too.
I see that too. Yep.
I'm like, okay, you want that in
What does that
there?
mean? And they're not very clear. They're also very vague in their job description too on what they mean. They list all the things, and I'm kind of like, I wanted to reach out and be like, can you clarify a little more what you mean? Like all the
It
things,
wouldn't hurt actually, because if we're not understanding as applicants,
right?
we're like, oh, they're
We have
actually reading the position description. What?
mhm. I have to dig into that a little bit, find out what they're looking for.
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
So as IDs and or user designer experience, whatever it's called, it's creating content. Some
Mhm.
instructional designers do, but I know the ones that I've worked with, we kind of rely on the SMEs to develop that content.
Mhm.
Um, so that's like creating like the user guides or podcast, training manuals, videos, learning modules, things like that.
Mhm.
Um, and then now we also are researchers. I don't know about
Right.
you, but sometimes when I'm building something and somebody puts a quote in a slide or something,
Mhm.
I go back and I like to see who that person is. Like, are you legit? Are you a
Mhm.
credible person, or did you do something horrible, but you just happen to say something amazing one time, but you're a horrible person?
Right. We have to have all the information. I need,
Ooh.
you know, even when I went back to the snake thing with Matt, he was like, I Google imaged it. It's a cottonmouth. And I was like, well, I read that the Hershey things are copperhead. And he's like, whatever, it's a copperhead. It doesn't matter. And I was like, look, I don't care if I'm right in this interaction.
Right.
What I care about is that I have the right information and I'm not going to repeat it and be wrong, or I'm not going to identify a snake and think it's the wrong one moving forward. Same thing with the quotes you see in there. Like, I'm going to dig deeper and go look up that stuff, especially if it's going to have my name on it at the end. So,
Right.
absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So we always go and kind of like what I do is as an instructor, you have to read the content that people are providing you. There's no way around it. You can't just, use typography and hope for the best. Like you actually have to read that stuff to make sure that the learner is going to be able to connect with it. But then do your research too. I mean, I'm not saying go out and get a PhD on this subject, but just do
Right.
some kind of research to make sure that what you're saying and what you're putting together makes sense. Um,
Yep. Nine times out of 10, too,
yeah,
we're adding pieces in because what we get is very just bare bones, and we need more to fill it up, and make it the length they want, and also keep it engaging because people don't want to read just point after point after point.
please don't do that. ID, don't do that. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you can't do point to point and point because too many graphics can do something, right? You got to balance it out. Um, but yeah, it's one of those things where you just have to do a little bit of research. Don't go out there and get a certification on a subject, but do some research. Um, so I also have planning on there.
Oh, I don't like that one.
planning. So,
I'm not a planner.
what? You're like, we'll get there when we get there, how we get there.
Yeah, you know what? We're just gonna wing it. We said at the beginning, we're just gonna wing it. I like to just sit down and put some stuff on a slide and try to put it all together. But no, you're the planner. Sandra reels me in. She keeps me honest.
I'm like, listen, we need to talk about our podcast. Uh, it's
Yep.
like it's an unorganized show today, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm trying to be a little bit more relaxed, but my controlling self is like, just have a list and maybe check it off. It's okay. It's cool. It's cool.
We got this.
So, like the planning ahead is like, you know, do we? I mean, is it part of our job? I don't know, as an ID to like ask the SME, hey, do you have assessments that go along with this?
Yep.
Are you going to provide that content? How long is this course going to be? We need to meet during these
Yep.
milestones. Sometimes we're the ones who have to do the scheduling and the planning of all of this, and the subject matter expert does it. So
Yep.
it's one of those
I
things
think
where
that's gonna. Yep. I think that's gonna lead you into another one on your list, right in there, because
project management.
100%. That's exactly where I was going. Everything you said with planning, every time I don't just take over that piece, when I'm meeting with a client, even if it doesn't matter what level they are, if I don't set those dates and those boundaries, it goes south every time. And it
Every
always
single
comes
time.
back to me. It comes back to my front door because I didn't do it. So
Yeah. And those are other duties as assigned for sure. Like,
Mhm.
and then you have to like follow up. So I feel like I'm a little bit on the admin side, administrative. I'm the secretary bringing in the coffee, asking, do you have any updates? Because I've had a client where we're done, we're just waiting for them to review, and it's been 2 weeks. We can't publish. We definitely blew your deadline, but it wasn't because of us. It's because you're not
Mhm.
reviewing it on time. So it's being able to manage those projects and the people and the assets. And I think that's also things that you're not necessarily going to learn, like we talked about in previous episodes in school. You're not going to learn that in school.
Right.
You're going to learn it on the job. And you're going to hopefully find a way that you are not looking unprofessional when you get handed a project.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't think it's said explicitly. Um, if I, for instance, if I were coming into my role right now as a new instructional designer, I don't know that I would understand all of those pieces. And it's no fault to anybody. It's just something that I've learned over the years is you have to manage the project. Now, I'm unlike you. If they're reviewing it and they want to take 2 weeks, I'm not following up. I'm going to do other things. But you like to cross off your list.
Yep.
You want it done.
Yeah, get off my
I'm
desk.
like, I'll do it when you come back. And then it's still whatever I have left, it's going to take that time. But yeah, we're a little different in that aspect.
I must control everything.
You are.
I
That's a good thing.
fully aware. It's a good thing. It's a bad thing because if it's not crossed off, my eyes start switching. Boop, 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 boop. Every time I see them, I'm like, you haven't brought up the project. You haven't brought up the project. Like I can't hear anything you're saying until you say also that project that we're working on together. Yes. Thank you for saying. Where are we?
I'm over here. I have a million other things I could do. So if you ain't bringing it up and it ain't a priority for you, it definitely ain't for me because it's your project, not mine. I guess that depends to what it is. Because if it is mine and I'm ultimately responsible for that deadline, of course I have a different outlook. But if it's somebody else's deadline, then I'm like, you're the one that's gonna miss that. And that's kind of on you if you're taking too long for certain aspects of it. So I probably have to take that back and, offer that clarification. If it's my project, I'm absolutely reaching out.
Yeah, it's one. And when somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, Sandra, I need help with something that's probably not even related to instructional design," it's probably more on the marketing side than anything. I will follow up. And again, I think it's that thing that irritates me just a little bit of you've asked for my help. I've said yes, but you haven't brought me your content. I want it off of, I can't cross it off. I mean, most people are like, Sandra, just cross it off and just, or defer or cancel. I'm like, but I know it's not canceled because they haven't told me it's canceled. And I can't defer it if they haven't told me that it's been deferred. So I've
Mhm.
had a project that's been on my plate for like 6 months, maybe. And I just
Mhm.
keep asking and then I just stop asking. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna meet with them. And like, I think this project's no longer needed because I haven't heard anything for 6 months. I'm just gonna go ahead and
Yep.
pick it off my list. And if y'all want to revisit this, just send a request. Happy to collaborate.
Mhm.
Right.
The
Um,
meetings are so important because what I find is a lot of people don't even understand what they're really asking for in a project. I get a lot of asks like, and I show up to a meeting and somebody thinks I'm going to build this massive e-learning
right.
because they don't on their end have an understanding of the volume of work that goes into that. So the communication piece is always really important.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
That's another part too, is explaining to the client that if something's gonna be rolled out, they need to communicate that.
Mhm.
They forget. Sometimes they forget or they
Mhm.
don't know what they don't know, right?
Yep.
Also on the list is training. I don't know.
I like that part. We had this discussion a couple weeks ago because we had a colleague reach out and who was interested in this realm. And she doesn't want to be a trainer. I feel it's a valuable experience as an instructional designer to be a trainer and have to communicate ideas, topics to learners and value whether you did that effectively or not. Um,
Mhm.
I don't think it's necessarily standing up in front of a room. I think it's more, can I communicate effectively
Right.
and measure that in the end? And so I think that's a valid piece. But you had a different take, slightly, I think.
What was my take?
You said you didn't really feel the facilitation. You saw where I was coming from, I think,
Right.
but you didn't feel it was as important and could be, you could still achieve those other ways, achieve that same thing other ways,
Yeah,
is kind of where you're at.
but I will say this, after you had that conversation, I think that I align and I definitely see where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's one thing building a course, but it's not until we talked about this in a previous episode. You have to have a core foundation understanding of what adult learning theories are. And
Mm-hmm.
then if you're going to be an instructional designer and you're adding a supplemental training to a course that already exists, you need to be able to elevate that. That supplemental
Mm-hmm.
training needs to elevate the course. It's not a summary of the course, it's in addition to, and being able to attend those sessions and seeing how the content is being presented would
Mm-hmm.
help. And I'm not saying maybe facilitate it, but maybe co-host it,
Yeah.
maybe be a silent participant in a class a few times so they can really soak in all that information. But you know what,
Mm-hmm.
you did say that facilitating a class could help, and you're not wrong, because as an instructional designer we are actually hosting workshops. That's
Mm-hmm.
facilitating.
Yep.
And you have to be able to talk to people,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's a big room virtually or in person. You have to be able to do certain things like that depending on your projects, you
Mm-hmm.
know so I'm right there with you. um
Mm-hmm.
it's just another skill that it's nice to have, It's not necessarily instructional design, but it would help, you know?
I agree. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
That's how well, in our first episode, we talked about how we ended up here, and I was a facilitator. And then I was like, I could do this. And that's how I got here. But without that facilitation, I wouldn't have the knowledge. Like it would have been harder. I don't know that I would have ever made it here. That was my step. Isn't there what's that? Building a ledge. That was my ledge or my stepping stone. Yeah.
Question mark? I don't know. It's kind of late for me. But along those lines, also like being able to facilitate discussions when you're collaborating with the team. Like we just said, clients don't really always know what they need or what they want. It's being able to facilitate those conversations, initiate them, be able to change the perspective on certain things, because sometimes they are very adamant that they want to do something a certain way, and saying yes, but also, have you considered this? And having those tough conversations, or being able to openly provide your recommendation. I think when you're facilitating to a crowd and not being, how can I say this? Like not knowing what's going to happen next, because sometimes when you're facilitating a live class, things can go south. Learners can go rogue, conversations can be tough. And those kinds of situations, I think, could help you when you're working with a client, when they're, trying to switch it up, bring them back. Another one on the list is writing scripts for videos and audio content. So
see, that's more your realm than me.
Yeah, I'm like a mini producer.
You are?
And boy, do I have fun. I do need
you do like that.
Huh?
You do like that piece.
I do. I like it a lot. Because it's something that I'd never thought in my life I would do. It was one of those moments when I was like, Sandra, do you know how to do this? Yes, absolutely. I have no clue, but I said yes. So now I'm committed.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that time you said yes and then went and had a baby, and I had to show up and cover for you. And I'd never done a production before. And I'm like,
you said yes.
Oh my God. I said yes. That's what we do. We say yes. We figure it out later. But you had to go have a baby and be gone for months. And then I had to, but you know what? It went off. It was good. I learned a lot.
That's what I was saying. Actually, you're welcome, because you learned something new.
It's like, I am not a production team. I don't know. I'm going to tape these like cords on the floor. I think we need this part from Best Buy. I'm going to run up there an hour before everything in the morning. Like it all came together.
I was ready to pop. And our client was like, our colleague was like, I know we work in a hospital, but let's not push it.
All right.
I don't need you taping things on the floor. You're right. But this last time that we did our production, our live stream, and it was nice. We got there early, and I told you, I'm like, we get there early, we calm them down, we do our thing, and then we play for an hour or two.
Yep. And it went so well. Didn't we get really good feedback and asked to do more?
Well, that's I wouldn't say bad part, but that's the consequence.
That is the consequence. So, I mean, do you do mediocre work? I don't know. I can't go in that route, right? I can't be mediocre to not get asked to do more of the other things as described that aren't really my role. I'm still going to shine anywhere I go or try my best, but that always leads to more.
But I like the thought of what I'm not going to do is, but here I am doing it.
Yep. Every time we say that.
Every single time. Work ethic. Why? Oh, this one's yours.
Oh, is it? What is it?
Works with technical staff to troubleshoot problems reported by users. That's not me. No thanks. No can do'sville, baby doll.
Somehow, in my last role and my current role, I have become the IT person for the learning management system and all e-learning. Like it all comes to me, and I like doing that. I know I'm good at it. I can figure out why courses aren't working. But yeah, that is definitely a big part of what I do.
That's a
And
big
it
part
takes
of
up a
public
lot of
duty.
time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We just had a massive rollout, right, for our annual uh trainings. You
Mhm.
handled that. That's all I can say is you handled that because one day there was everything was burning down to the ground. You go in for like 15 minutes and it's all calm. I got this. We're good. Who's freaking out? I'm
Oh,
not.
I don't know about that, but I try.
Well, I would have been crying in the fetal position somewhere
Oh,
on the
like I
ground.
can only do so much. I have cried before. I don't anymore though, because now I'm like, there's only so much I can do, you know?
That callus.
But yep, I've got a callus now for it.
Okay, the last one on my list is data analyst, being able to run reports and analyze if a course is effective or not. And then other reporting.
That is me. Yep. That is definitely a big part of my role right now. Um, Pulling reports, pulling data together in Excel. I try to bring the instructional design piece in and make it look pretty. But that's
Oh,
it. That's something I think more people need to get certified in. I think there's a big gap in the whole workforce, to be honest.
yeah.
Um, Learn Excel. Get out there and learn Excel because my current role, we work for a massive organization. Are there people out there in it that can do it that are staying quiet? Probably. Um,
Yeah, because you do a great
but
job, you get
in the
more of it.
area I'm in, I don't know anybody else. Yeah, I don't know anybody else in our area that really knows it that in depth, and they want it. Like organizations want to be able to see um, what their numbers are, how they're moving the mark. They want to be able to see that data and they want to see it presented in a meaningful way.
Right.
I think it's a huge gap in the workforce right now. Get Excel certified. Learn how to write all the formulas. You will
At
be
least the
valued.
basic, or as I like to say, know enough to be dangerous, where you don't have to rely on somebody else to do it.
Yeah.
Just take the time and teach yourself how to do that stuff. It's part of your
Yep.
development, so personal growth, as a professional.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. And learn Power Automate too.
oh,
Those two. You will make your
yes.
job easier. Learn Power Automate, learn Excel, learn lists, learn SharePoint. Like become a Microsoft guru and you will be needed. You will, how do I want to say this? Any job you're in, you will make a mark for yourself where you're able to do things a lot of people can't.
Yeah. That is actually, now that I think about it, I just got through doing a whole application process
Mm-hmm.
that was automated from the moment that somebody nominates an employee, that employee then the nominee then responds to it. I have workflows put in place depending on, to
Mm-hmm.
update other lists, to send out notifications, to
Yep.
after decision is made. I have switches on there. Like you have to learn how to do that. Like I did. I'm like, oh,
Yep.
and it was only, wouldn't it be fun? My conversation always starts, wouldn't it be fun if we could do it this way? And then
Yep.
now I'm going down a rabbit hole.
Yep.
It's 3
Yep.
a.m. and I finally figured it out. And it's one of the best
100%.
feelings when you
It
figure
is.
something out. And I'm like, who do I call? Who's awake? Nobody's awake.
I'm always
It's
awake
3
at 2
a.m.
morning.
It's 3 a.m.
You can text me, but I agree. And I'm always trying to simplify things for myself down the road. So if I can automate something, it's going to take some work on the front end. But I mean, I have LMS reports that are coming to folders in my inbox, and they're being pulled and triggering Power Automate to send them to a massive workbook that's reporting out on like 17 different courses for thousands of people. And it does that without me touching it every week. So it simplifies things for you, and kind of solidifies your role, because if nobody else knows how to do that, what are they going to do?
I much rather put hours, days, sometimes days. Okay. Even, I'm not going to even lie to you. It was months when I was maybe like 1 or 2 months or a month and a half when I was building out this process, because I wanted it to be as simple as it could be for the user. So here we go back again to the user and experience that people are looking for, employees that have that. Design as designer UX, I guess is what it's called, designer UX. And it took me a while to figure that out. And now we're a part of a new cycle. And instead of having to rebuild that, because I didn't rebuild it, what I ended up doing was looking back at what worked last time and what areas needed to be improved. And I just cut my work even like in half of that, right? Because now I fixed all the glitches. And now all I have to do is monitor it, watch it run, watch it run, watch it run. If there's a glitch, I have safeties workflows where I can just trigger them manually and keep it going. So it's like it's those things that you build out, and you have to take the time. And a lot what I've noticed is we have so much work sometimes that we don't have time to kind of dig deep and do the right thing for the right reason. We're just like, we have to get this done, and that's it. And it is what it is. But like this one, it's a phased approach, and it's okay to do things in a phased approach, but having that plan in place will definitely help you in the long run and have a better user and experience. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. But yeah, that's those
the list.
Duties. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
I think that's a good list. I think I always go back to that Lion King, everything under the sun is your job duty, because it really so many things fall under instructional design. And I think it's because we're always looking for continuous improvement and always wanting to learn ourselves.
Right. Right. But it's that taking that first step. So we have a little piece in part of our show, in case you guys don't know, it's called Remember When. And I don't know if you picked a topic or a thing to talk about, but in my planner heart, my little planner heart, I did. So mine is, do you remember when we used to do our own voiceovers? Do you still hear my voice in trainings?
I opened one up yesterday that I have to update, and it was welcome, and it was your voice. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna take care of this one for her, because now we're using natural readers. Is that the one we're using? Yeah. Plug for natural readers. Actually, really like that. Yeah. And even we have used the Spanish with them as well, and we've noticed that different voices have different dialects. So it's important to choose a voice that has a dialect that's going to work for your population. But we've been really happy, and it gets my voice off of there. I mean, I'm sorry to everybody who has to listen to my voice that listens to this podcast. I know it's kind of high pitch, and it's just I don't know, but it's mine, and I got to work with what I got. But I don't want it on e-learning anymore. I'm so happy.
Another way that we're opposites is and the whole reason why we started a podcast is because I want to hear my own voice. And also, why I love doing voiceovers is because you will remember me. And it's funny because I've heard somebody say before, I recognize you. And I'm like, do you? Because my voice, they have to hear it for training, for
Oh yeah,
at least here.
my voice was on training that went to 30,000 people. Yeah.
I'm like, hey, you're welcome. Yes. Would you like a signature? Want me to sign your
I
forehead?
am so happy that that is done. I don't, everywhere I would go for work, people would say, I've heard your voice. I've heard you taught me about fire safety. You
The fact that you can recall it. You recall fire safety. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, I mean, I remember going into a closet.
I should have been like, quick quiz.
Ah. I remember going into a closet,
right?
trying to get like the acoustics right in there, but also it being like so quiet. But then it's so quiet you can hear yourself breathing. So then I'm like, oh my God, how am I gonna make this go away? And then having to edit all of those.
That was the worst.
It was so lame. It was fun because I got to learn how to do all of that. You know,
that was the worst.
Audition, guys, in case you're doing your own voiceovers. I used the Audition, Adobe Audition, and I was using a Blue Yeti mic. There's another one right there. Boop, Snowball. So
that's what I have. Blue Yeti Snowball for the win. Same here.
Right there, and then I have a different one up here. Different Mikey mic, just in case one of them fails, because it will.
That's I'm like, this one's working, or we'll deal with it then. I got one. That's it. There's no backup.
No, that one, I've had that one for years, and I was like, I want to switch it up. You know, I was doing other things, and I wanted to hang differently, and it was just, I wanted something new. This one's, she's right here, right next to me. Miss Yeti.
I was gonna say, does she have a name?
Miss Yeti. I'm not original.
Miss Yeti.
Miss Yeti. That's all I have for our show thingies, show notes.
Well, check us out on Instagram, on TikTok.
We might bust out and dance for you. No, we won't.
We might one time, and ask us some questions. Give us some things that you want us to answer on future episodes. I would love some feedback on what you might want to hear or learn. I want to have a part of the episode where we're kind of answering some questions from people. That would be cool. So get some interaction.
That would be fun.
That would be fun.
We're posting. We need to work on that on the Instagram side because that's my place. You need to.
Yeah, I got to work on the TikTok side. Yep.
And the YouTubes. We could probably put something on the community tab or something.
Yep.
So we can, we'll see. Hopefully more people are enjoying and can subscribe. Also, guys, if you haven't subscribed, help me out. Help us out over here out in these instructional designer streets.
Help us out.
Let us make it. When one shine, we all shine. Help us out. So and share, please. That would be awesome. But I guess that ends our show for today, guys. It has been real.
Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.
Right. Bye.
Right. Bye.